Ask Mr. White to take a seat at the witness table, please. We will have a short discussion before we end the session on arrangements for this afternoon's site inspections, but I'll leave that to Mr. White, who's given his evidence to us. Thank you, Mr. White. I'm going to ask you to read your recognition. I'm not sure if anyone's explained how the microphones and the webcasting work, but basically when you wish to speak, you press the large button with a little face at the bottom and then turn it off when you've finished talking and the camera ties in with the microphone. Okay, so whenever you're ready, if you would read your recognition for us, please.
Well, thank you for that introduction. I wish to go through the points the reporters are to make an assessment on, and I will be brief. The technical issues. The technical issue is not a strong point of mine. However, with what is being proposed by the Council, there is no doubt to achieve the same objective, the task can be undertaken with considerable less expenditure and without the impact on the Dumfries business and shops. The Whitesands has flooded for thousands of years, long before buildings were developed in Dumfries. The scheme planned would not provide the satisfactory solution. SEPA, with the Council's proposition, will say the Whitesands is a floodplain, which demonstrates the Council's proposals are entirely not in keeping with a satisfactory conclusion and should be totally disregarded and other solutions investigated. An alternative is a rising wall, shown to have been installed in many parts of the UK and other parts of the world. Cockermouth in Cumbria, where 314 millimetres, 12.3 inches of rain fell in 24 hours. Alexandria in Egypt, Malaysia, Paris, Philippines, and even a self-activating flood barrier installed in New York City. The rising wall is there only for the time of the flood, and at other times no visual appearance seen. As said, is an option that is worked in many areas of the world, and the Council must give consideration to such a scheme. Unfortunately, they are being blinkered with one direction only. Listening to Mr. Filmont yesterday, it was clear he identified the visual impact where he pointed to the importance of this for the city he referred to. And let me say, it is of no less importance for this to be protected for Dumfries. Mr. Filmont indicated the low maintenance of such a scheme yearly, mentioning 20 and 50 years and 100-year life, putting into perspective what the public want from the protection of flooding and for tourists.
Sorry to interrupt. You don't appear to be reading from the recognition that's been submitted, Mr. White.
Well, I was adding on a little bit of what I learnt yesterday, which everybody must have heard.
Could I ask you, do you have a copy of your original recognition with you?
I do, I'm sure I do.
I appreciate that you've not had the opportunity to sit in on the previous inquiry sessions, so for the purposes of our procedures, each witness has to read out their recognition as submitted. But what I will do, given that you heard evidence yesterday, I will give you the same opportunity that other people have had, and I'll ask you if there's any supplementary points that you wish to make. But if I could ask you to read from your original recognition, I think you had got to the paragraph above impact and heritage.
Yes.
And in order to keep matters in accordance with our procedures, if I could ask you to do that, and I will, when you've finished, give you the chance just to make a couple of points of clarification if that's what's required.
From what one heard yesterday?
Yeah. Or evidence. Parties who have been given evidence on their own behalf have been allowed the opportunity to make some supplementary points that I've put to them when they finished reading the recognition, but you have to read the recognition as submitted first. So my reckoning...
I apologise.
That's okay. No, we totally understand that this is new to many people. Please don't let it put you off what you're doing. But in my reckoning, I think you had got to just round about almost the end of the paragraph that says that refers to the schemes in Alexandria, Malaysia, Paris. And if you're happy, could you continue from that point and finish reading your recognition without supplement?
Yes, I certainly will.
And I will come back to you at the end. Thanks very much.
So just to finish off that particular section then, the scheme proposed will have implications detrimental on the impact of the town. Devastation of car parking, which the town relies on to bring people to the town to generate prosperity and the economy, to bring about employment and welcome the tourists. Impact on heritage. The proposed scheme will drastically alter the heritage of the waterfront of our past. It will kill all that inherited by our predecessors, and I think we want to protect our history and that given by tradition. This is an historical area and considered as the inheritance of our present-day society. To change as proposed takes away that aspect of historical inheritance, as said previously. The object of risk by rising tides can be achieved without loss of this inheritance. The visual impact of the scheme. It's easy to make the visual impact look good. The consequences of such can be considerable and will be. Already stated, shops and businesses will be the losers. It is the practicalities people desire, and the council are overlooking this. The current visibility is what has been inherited and remains views visitors and the population of the region accept and appreciate. To alter the current state will be shown by an outcry if the scheme produced by the council goes ahead. They will then recognise what of historical importance they have lost. Previously mentioned, the rising wall maintains all that would be lost with the council's proposition. Now, the impact on parking. Only recently a disabled bay was removed from the waterfront, there being only 5 bays, now reduced to 4. On taking this up with a council official, I was told an assessment would be made to see to put that back is needed. It beggars belief not to recognise more are needed. I was told that would be done in November, 4 months away from the time I first raised this. A typical example is the new hospital. No disabled bays available unless you're at the hospital by 9:30 a.m. Lack of assessment of need. And it is not only disabled bays, but general car parking too, which is totally insufficient. Now, the official I spoke with said the new waterfront proposal, there will be less spaces for car parking. But without the opportunity to park in the town, people will go elsewhere to do their business and shop. And many are doing that now. Impact on the Dumfries Town Centre. The proposal by the council for the waterfront will have a tremendous impact on the town. I've already stated the loss of historical importance of the heritage of the town, which visitors comment on, the bridge and the River Nith being part of Dumfries. Then the loss of parking close to the town, essential for disabled, impacts on business and shopping in Dumfries, which is already being felt, as now parking is exceptionally difficult, a fact, as mentioned earlier, the council seem to have little interest in, especially as the population is ageing. We are a rural area and people travel by car, and this must be considered as vital to the town. Shops are increasingly being closed, and it is not all about higher rates. People realise difficulties if they come to Dumfries and find it better to go by car to Castle Douglas or to Glasgow or Carlisle by train. Dumfries will lose more people unless parking is given much greater consideration than currently undertaken. There is at times talk of regeneration. The leader of the council says the administration committed to a floodplain scheme, mentioning this will encourage regeneration, which, unless the council reconsiders, its blinkered view will be total opposite of that. The deputy leader is right when he says the scheme has to be the right one. However, the one offered is totally detrimental to business, as nowhere to park, less money will be spent in the town. Regarding regeneration, the deputy at the time of the election, along with others, was asked to speak on regeneration. He spoke about himself and offered nothing on regeneration. So I wonder if regeneration is a reality. The council needs to ask the question, do we want more people to visit the town? If we do, are we creating the right scheme to bring that about? The answer to the first is yes, and that to the second question is no. The scheme needs to provide protection to flooding without damage to the visibility and inheritance we have, and no loss of car parking. A petition put out asked that river views and car parking be protected. The council did its best to undermine the credibility of that petition. In conclusion, may I ask that the reporters recommend abandonment of the council scheme and to work for a consensus with our Save the Sands committee. Thank you for your patience and listening to me.
Could you turn your microphone off, please, Mr. White? Thank you. I will turn in a minute to give Mr. Connell the opportunity to ask any questions. Because you're a witness standing on your own behalf, but you share the same position as the main opposing party, under our protocols and procedures, you would not normally be questioned by Save Our Sands because you're on the same side. Mr. Dowson will only be allowed to ask any specific points of clarification. So before I turn to Mr. Connell and Mr. Dowson, given the evidence that you heard yesterday and that has been submitted to the inquiry, is there anything in relation to the matters that have come up since you wrote your recognition? Is there any supplementary points you would wish to make to us at this point in time?
For one point, I've been out of the country for over a month, and I know a lot of things have changed in that time, and I must say I do not know about those. So it would be welcome to me to hear from Mr. Dowson exactly what has actually changed, if that is possible. But if I could just mention from the point of view of what I heard from Mr. Felmont yesterday, where he pointed to the aspect of visibility being an important topic of which he mentioned for the city he was talking about, and he mentioned the low maintenance costs on a yearly basis, and then he talked of 20 and 50 years and 100 years lifetime. Now, you know, when you look at that, based over perhaps the cost of which we are looking at, obviously brings the cost down considerably on a yearly basis. But also, it is what the public are looking for. Adequate protection, low and maintaining the visibility of the sands and the bridge and keeping our tradition and historical importance at the forefront. And I believe that that would have total support of the population at large. But if we do not get that, as I see it, and being in this area for a good 20 plus years now, there will be an outcry and criticism which will be issued by the press, and the press will be inundated, I'm in no doubt, over the complaints of all that. And secondly, if I could just say that I would really like to see, it is not a us and them situation. I would really like to see, if possible, you and your colleague bringing at the end of this a consensus so that the Council and the Save of the Sands Committee can work in harmony to pull a solution which is satisfactory to all together. And at the moment, I think it seems to be that we're miles apart on that. Thank you. Oh, sorry.
Thank you very much. Okay, I'll just go back to a couple of points that you raised there. Unfortunately, it's not possible within this inquiry session to allow a recap of the evidence that's gone before. The parties who have participated in the inquiry, including yourself, will be given the opportunity to make closing submissions. Now, Mr Jackman will talk a bit more about that on the last session, the hearing on Friday. There will also be a letter will go out to the parties explaining the position on closing submissions. That allows you to make any final points at that stage. The closing submissions are likely to be due in from yourself and Whitesands by around the 6th of January, but we will confirm that by the end of this week. In terms of the role of the reporters, we have been appointed to consider the objections to the order and make a report on those to the ministers with a recommendation. It's not, unfortunately, from your point of view, it's not the reporter's position to try and bring a consensus position between the two parties. So I could just clarify that that's what our role is to write a report to the ministers. Okay, so as I said, you share the same position as Whitesands, so I will ask Mr Dowson if there is any specific points of clarification only that are required at this stage.
Well, if I may just ask Mr White one point only. On your first page, you referred, Mr White, to the proposed scheme will alter the heritage of the waterfront of our past, and you say it will kill that inherited by our predecessors. Could you clarify just what you mean by the heritage of the waterfront of our past? You've obviously got some thoughts about the history of the... Is that acceptable?
Yes, yes.
It's a point of clarification. Just to clarify.
For clarification only, specifically, it's not to, as I say, make a supplementary statement.
Just to clarify what Mr White means by the heritage of the waterfront of our past.
Okay, Mr Connell, are you quite happy for me to? Okay, well, ask that one specific question. Mr White, could you give us your answer to that, please?
Yes, I think that the people historically have seen this Whitesands, the river, the bridges as they are, and this has been over the course of many, many years. And if one starts to alter that aspect, we lose very much part of our history. And history today is a vital point which we should not be losing. We should maintain the history, and especially that of our town.
Thank you. Mr Connell, do you have any questions for this witness?
Mr White, good morning.
Good morning.
One of the functions of an event such as this, once it's set up, is to allow people such as yourself to come along and explain your views on the matters at issue. And speaking for the Council, there is no objection whatsoever to you doing that. So far as the content of what you've said today, you'll appreciate there's been a lot going on in the inquiry while you've not been around, and I'm not going to take up the inquiry's time simply by going through what the Council witnesses have said. I think that, therefore, I only have one question for you, which is, there were various events that took place as this matter has progressed, public events of different kinds in the town. Did you attend any of these?
I've not attended any for a while, no, because being away, and I haven't been available for such. Oh, sorry, yeah.
I have nothing further.
Thanks very much. If you could take your seat in the audience, we have no further questions for you. Thank you. Okay, before we conclude the session for this morning, I would like to just have a quick discussion about the arrangements for this afternoon's site inspection. We're initially arranged to meet at Kingham Quay at the car park at the Swan. I suspect that is going to be quite a brief visit to that location. I've asked Mr Dyson to have a think about what it is that he specifically wants us to see. And I think that we have noted that we're likely just to walk from the Swan to the harbour at Kingham Quay.
Yes, that would be my suggestion. I think it could be fairly brief, but I just felt it was important. I know that you're looking upriver, to have at least a look downriver at Kingham Quay, and there is a particular kind of floodplain embankment there that I think might be of interest to you.
Thank you. And for the afternoon session, the intention would be to look at the locations that were proposed by Whitesands, which is yellow line parking in the town centre, and the proposed one-way route for the buses. The one-way route up Irish Street and Bank Street, I think, seems fairly easy to identify on a plan. I think we would just agree to walk probably from Whitesands around that route, Irish Street, Bank Street, back to Whitesands. What I'm a bit wary about is we were not just wandering all over the town centre to look at yellow line parking. So is St Michael Street, English Street, the only two streets that we've been asked to look at this afternoon? We don't want to go on a grand tour of the town centre, but could I just ask for parties' views on that? Mr Dyson initially.
Well, I think these would be perhaps good locations to start and have a look. Perhaps that would be enough. I think what we're trying... Yes, I think if we look at one or two examples, I think it would probably illustrate the point that we're trying to make. I don't think it would be necessary to visit them all, because they are widespread and all around the town centre. So I think I'd be happy to look at, say, 2 or 3 examples, if that helps.
Okay, for the purposes of identifying a route, both the Council and yourself, Mr Dyson, have more local knowledge than the reporters do. Could I perhaps ask the Council if they can suggest an appropriate route round St Michael Street, English Street, that might take us back to the Whitesands area that would take in the yellow line parking? Could I ask you to perhaps have a chat when we're finished, and I agree between you a route, if you're happy to bring along a plan? It's just we don't want to be just wandering in different directions. If we could choose a route round, and likewise, I'd asked parties to have a think yesterday about the route to and from the Lord Burn shopping centre that we've been asked to also check. So if you could, between you, have a chat about which routes you would like us to take to and from Whitesands to Lorburn. Okay.
That shouldn't be a difficulty, ma'am. I'm sure that could be organised. The only thing I would add, that when you're down at the Kingham Quay end, as indicated on the original schedule, the council would like you just to go just a little bit so you can see the walkway and embankment that runs from Kingham Quay, towards the town centre. You don't need to walk the whole thing. It's just a brief look while you're there.
Okay, that's fine. It's just so that we would not wander. Obviously, the weather yesterday was very cold, and it's looking a bit dismal today again. So that we have a focus for our visit, if we could agree the routes for this afternoon, and we will convene at the Kingham Quay car park. One final point, we only have this room booked out until today, so we do have to be out with all our equipment and reconvene in the Easterbrook Hall at 9:30 for the hearing session on Friday. We're unable to get into the hall to set things up until 8 o'clock on Friday morning. So what I have arranged is that we'll have tables prepared for the parties, but if all parties could clear everything that they have in this room when we leave today. And we will reconvene this afternoon. Thanks everyone for their time this morning.